Okay, here we are again. Grab a pencil and paper. Stop me for a minute here. Just stop this as you're watching this. Grab a pen or pencil and paper because you need to write some stuff down today. And actually, you're going to have to respond to me on a separate email about some of the stuff you're writing down. So do that now, okay? Okay, so here we go. Now, back at the beginning of the semester, we talked about the fact that the successful college student does some things in a certain way. And if you're going to be a successful college student, these are things you need to incorporate into your whole way of doing things, okay? First of all, college starts the first day of classes. You can't afford to blow off that first day or 2 days or first week of classes. You will play the whole semester trying to catch up, and that's a terribly uncomfortable feeling. So put in your head that college starts the first day. Before that first day, okay, draw yourself a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week grid and make multiple copies of it so you can do it each week during the course of the semester. And this is an exercise that will save you hours and hours and hours, okay? So spending a half an hour doing this once a week will save you hours every week. What you want to do on that 24/7 schedule is, first of all, fill in your entire college schedule, exactly when your classes are, okay? So put that in first. Then, if you have a job, fill those hours in, okay? So now you know right away, these are the things I have to do, okay? If your family has dinner together every night, and thank God that many families still do. Some families don't, make their life disciplined enough to be able to do that, and they lose so much in the whole concept of family by not being able to do that. So hopefully, your family does it. But if they do, then figure that into your schedule, okay? And, you all go to Mass together on Sunday mornings. Put that into your schedule, okay? So, put those things in. Then you want to block out every hour on your schedule every day of the week. Okay, and we did talk about this early on, but okay, you have psychology at 10 o'clock on Tuesdays, and you don't have any classes before that. Well, then put down that from 8:30 to 9:30, you're going to go over what you did in the previous psychology. Or if you know what you're going to be doing in that class, then put down an hour, hour and a half beforehand to be previewing. If there's material in the book, reading material in the book. If there's not material in the book, then go online and get an idea about it. Because when you go into a college class, if you go in prepared, if you have done the reading, or if you have at least gotten a little bit of a background of what this is going to be all about, it makes that class so much more worthwhile. You'll understand what your instructor is saying, okay? Rather than saying, what does that mean? And having to look it up later, or, stop him to ask a question, which isn't a bad thing. Asking questions are always good, but some instructors don't like you to do that either, okay? So you want to be prepared for that class, okay? So pre-read or pre-study the material that you're going to be doing in class that day when you know it, and fill that time in on your 24-hour schedule, okay? Then, let's say you have that 10 o'clock class on Tuesdays, and then you don't have another class until 1 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. Okay, so when you get out of that class, okay, block in an hour's time to go over what you just did in that class. Okay, not necessarily to do the homework from it, but to go over that stuff so that you know you really understand what your instructor just said. If you wait till the next day to do it, a lot of it will be lost. But if you've taken notes in that class and gone, and then you go over it right afterwards, then you'll be using your time well. So, do that all through your day. Fill in the times before classes, after classes, and then, like fill in, okay, if you're going to be dorming, which probably many of you are, then, okay, dinner time. You're going to go to dinner at, okay, let's say 6 o'clock. So 6 to 7 is dinner. Fine. Then go back to your room and have down 7 to 9 or 7 to 10 to be doing schoolwork. Okay? And depending on the classes you had that day, have them relate to this, have that time tie into the schoolwork, the classes that you did that day, so that you're doing your work the days that you did them in class. And then, if you want to have time to screw around, then fine. You have after 9 or 10 o'clock at night to do that, But by filling in your hours in the day, you won't waste time. The reason why lots of students do poorly in college is that there is so much time there. There is so much time at college. I mean, basically, you're responsible for 15 or 16 hours a week for classes, okay? And there's 7 times 24 is 168 hours in a week. So that means you have another 150 hours a week. Now, out of that, okay, let's say you sleep 40. You still have another 110 hours a week. Okay, so let's say you use 20 of those hours for meals. You still have another 90 hours a week, okay? So there's tons and tons of time, and the big problem is wasting that time. So you want to avoid that, okay? So make a schedule, block that out, and fill it in every week, and make yourself follow it. And then leave yourself some goof-off time, That's okay. Goof-off time is good, but fill it in on your schedule, goof-off time. And then when that goof-off time is over, boom, be done. And leave yourself enough hours to sleep also. Okay, and plan on, when you get to weekends, figure, okay, after dinner Friday, study, do some schoolwork for an hour or two. You'll have a great start on the weekend. Saturday morning, do some schoolwork for an hour or two, or early Saturday afternoon. Again, you'll have a lot of work done on the weekend, and it won't be Sunday night, and you'll be stressing out because you have all this stuff that's due on Monday or Tuesday and you haven't done anything. So take advantage of those Friday nights, early on, not the whole night, but early on, and Saturday morning. Again, not the whole day, but early on, so that you don't let things build up. Okay, it makes the whole college experience easier. So make that kind of drift. That's number one you're supposed to put down, okay? Well, I already talked about college starts the first day, so we actually have 1 and 2 because college starts that first day and you can't waste time. And the third thing is the 3-time study system, okay? I mentioned earlier when you're making your schedule, if you know what you're going to do in class, then read material or try to get a really good idea of the basic material from that class that you're going to be going into. Okay, so do that before a class. Do some reading, do some studying before the class so that when you get into class, you'll understand what your professor's talking about. Then pay attention in class and take lots of notes and ask questions if you don't understand something, okay? And then as soon as possible after class, go over the material, okay? So that within a very concise period of time, very short period of time, you will have seen the material 3 times, okay? So when it comes time to study for tests, you'll have it pretty well up here already. You can go over your notes, and that kind of stuff, but that'll help you a lot, okay? So having seen things 3 times already makes it already pretty well into your head. So use that plan. So I'm giving you 3 big clues as you go forward, okay? And so part A of your assignment this week is to send me an email. Each one of you, send me an email by Tuesday telling me the 3 things that I just said you should be doing if you're going to be a serious college student. Okay, so enough of that. Now, we spent last week on narrative poetry, and I really wanted to spend 2 weeks on poetry, but we're only going to spend one on it, because you really did pretty well on it, despite the fact that many of you said, especially guys, hate poetry. You did a pretty good job looking at it, and hopefully that gave you a little bit of a comfort zone with poetry, so that you can see that you don't have to delve into it and worry about meter and rhyme and all that other kind of stuff, all the construction things, but rather you can look at the ideas of it, and again, reading it by the punctuation rather than line by line by line makes it all so much easier. The other kind of poetry we were going to talk about, and what we were going to talk about this week, is lyric poetry. Poetry which appeals to the emotions, really kind of brings the emotions out in us. But I will say that even in the narrative poems last week, many of you wrote about the emotions that you felt in there. So keep in mind we have those two kinds of poetry, narrative and lyric. There's also didactic poetry, Didactic, didactic. Poetry that's meant to teach a lesson, okay? But you can see that in, like, Casey at the Bat. We were teaching a lesson there too, you know. In The Road Not Taken, there was a lesson going in there too. So these things all overlap, and many of you found emotions in each of those. So anyway, narrative poetry basically tells a story. Lyric poetry is written to stir the emotions. Like I'm sure you've all read Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, Once Upon a Midnight Dreary, While I Ponder Weak and Weary. And there's so many emotional poems, okay? So be open to those. Be willing to take a look at those from time to time and read them in the way that I talked about, rather than analyzing, trying to pick out every little thing in there. Try to get an overall feeling and see how it applies to you. Okay, moving along. We are going to read a play. Now, this is, I told Dr. Newton that we would finish by the end of April, because technically you guys were supposed to finish class next week, a week after that, but we didn't take an Easter break, so you're finishing a week earlier than the rest of the people in the college, but that's okay, because you guys have done real well staying with us, and those couple that got lost have almost caught up, except for Jake, who still owes us Batman, The Dark Knight. He owes us the essay on that. Okay, and Owen owes us the essay on poetry, but otherwise you guys are pretty caught up. Okay, so that's all good. So now we're moving on to drama, and why is this important? Well, there's just a drama that everybody who takes college introduction to literature should have read this drama. It's just part of being an educated person. Okay, so this is a tragedy, okay? And what does tragedy mean? Tragedy doesn't just mean a sad ending, okay? There's more to classical tragedy than just a sad ending. Tragedy involves a bunch of factors. First of all, for something to be tragic in a classic sense, classical tragedy, okay? And classical tragedy started with the Greeks thousands of years ago, okay? So in a classical sense, for something to be tragic, first of all, we have to have a lofty character. Not Joe Average Guy, not that Joe Average Guy isn't lofty, but we need somebody of particular significance. So somebody who is some kind of a king or a ruler, you know, a prince, somebody who's involved that way, or a high-level clergy person, somebody of real significance in their society, okay? This person will undergo many difficult things during the course of this drama, and because of this lofty character's own personality, the play will come to a catastrophic ending. Okay? Catastrophe doesn't necessarily mean death, but much of the time it does mean death. But we'll come to a catastrophic ending, a really like, holy cow, and you know, this person obviously gets damaged very significantly. Okay, so we need a lofty person, somebody who has a personality that leads him in a certain direction and comes to a catastrophic ending. Now that personality contains what is generally referred to as a tragic flaw. Okay, there's something about that person's personality that causes that person to be brought down. Frequently, it is pride. Okay, somebody is too proud to see that they're no better than anybody else. Really, they think they're better than other people. Their sense of pride, a lot of times because of their position in life, their sense of pride causes them to think that. And a lot of times pride goes with jealousy. In Shakespeare's plays, many times, in Shakespeare's tragedies, many times you see pride and jealousy intermixed to help bring down one of the main characters, or the main character. So we have those factors in the character to have a tragedy. Again, tragedy, lofty character, personality, and disorder that will term a tragic flaw, and bringing about a catastrophic ending. Okay, this person may have godlike potential, so he really is a lofty character, but he generally causes his own downfall. And sometimes he causes his own downfall because his ideals are so high that he can't interrelate well with other people, because, again, he sees himself as better and his ideals are so high and everything. So, he could be a really good person, but he brings about his own downfall. Okay, so those are necessities in a classic tragedy. In the structure of a classic tragedy, there are generally 5 parts. Okay, and these are the 5 parts. Okay, there is the introduction or exposition, in which we meet the characters, we see the scene, the whole place is kind of set up for us. So it's an introductory kind of thing where we get to know a little bit of what's going on, we get to know a little bit of the characters, that kind of thing. Then we go through complication or rising action. So the world is not just flowing this way. When we get to the rising action, it's rising, it's becoming complicated. Things are happening, things are being set in motion, maybe by unexpected forces, or maybe by that tragic flaw, or whatever. Okay, but it continues to elevate until the point where we have obviously significant conflict going on between our tragic character, our main character, and something else in society or some other people. Okay, then we get to the peak of the conflict, the high point, the climax, in the sense of the high point. It's not the ending, it's the high point. Okay, it's a turning point that's going on here, so this is called the climax, the high point, the turning point in the play, where things may have been going like this, and now all of a sudden, over a very short period in the play, it's like things change dramatically. Then we go through a falling action. Okay, and during the falling action, this shows the activity of the forces opposing the hero, and there may still be some suspense going on in all of this as to what's really going to happen. But there are these forces in here still working against the hero, and we can see it's leading towards something really bad, really disastrous, potentially catastrophic. So it's logically leading toward a disaster. Okay, we can see our main character, our heroic character, our tragic hero heading for a disaster. Okay, and it usually involves the death of our hero. Not always, but usually. And then we have the catastrophe and the resolution, the coming together, like what looked like was going to happen happens, and then there's something of a resolution so that people walk away feeling like, oh my God, but also, well, okay, maybe there's something that's good that's going to come out of this. This is also referred to as the denouement, Deneument, I think it's spelled, the denouement. And it's the, again, the catastrophe and then the aftermath of the tragic downfall of the hero. Okay, and then again a coming together of things afterwards. So society is going to go on. Maybe even society is going to be better. Okay, so the play that we're talking about this week is Oedipus Rex. It is a classic. Okay, and again, it's something that every college student should read. Okay, now don't let the names throw you. As you read this play, think of the chorus as the voice of the narrator. Okay, important. Think of the chorus as the voice of the narrator. The chorus is giving us a lot of background information, so it's not just a bunch of people over in the corner singing. It's background information being given to us, okay? So keep that in your mind as you read the play. So make sure you read the stuff with the chorus. Make sure you read the information that goes with each act. It gives you the setting. It tells you where it is. It gives you a little bit of well, we talked about setting in detail, okay? It gives you the setting, okay? It explains setting in a detailed way. So make sure that you read that. It helps you understand what it's all about, okay? Now, with Oedipus Rex, you can probably find online on YouTube or somewhere, you can probably find Oedipus Rex so that you can actually see the play and follow it along in your book at the same time, okay? The names are a little bit different. We have Oedipus, a little bit of an unusual name, Jocasta. When you come across these names, if you want to, in reading it, you can just call her Joe. Okay, that's okay. That makes it easier for you. Don't worry too much about that. Just try to keep the characters straight. And we have a there's some confusion. There's a lot of confusion that goes on. Okay, and certainly Oedipus's parents are not what you'd call ideal parents. His problem started really with his parents, because his parents had heard that through a prophecy that he would eventually kill his father. Okay, that kind of helps to set the scene for you. So they actually take him, they give him to one of their servants and tell him to take him out into the mountains and just leave him there. But this guy can't do that. Once he takes this baby, he can't do that. So he takes him out and gives him to somebody else. So that gives you a little bit of background on it, okay? But yeah, read through the play slowly and carefully. And what I'm looking for, and you'll see this in the assignment, is that I'm looking for you to be monitoring yourself as you read it, okay? Because this is a play that is overflowing with shocks and surprises. I mean, it is a shocking play, okay? So what I want you to do as you're reading is jot down, like, at least scene by scene, what you're thinking and what kinds of emotions you're feeling as you're reading the play. Okay, so do that, because in the assignment I give you your choice of two things, but I really like this part better. It's not so clinical. It gets into who you are and how you react to a play. And isn't that why we do literature? Not only to see reflections of another world, but to see ourselves in it, to see our reactions to it, to see ourselves as human beings. That's a big part of enjoying and understanding literature. Okay? So, questions, you know where to find me. Hey, you guys have been a terrific bunch. My hope is that I will get to see you again when you all get together for something at school, whether it's graduation or whatever, because I've thoroughly enjoyed myself with you people, and you've all worked along really well, really regularly. I'm pretty interested in where to go to college too. So if you want to put that into at the end of your essay, tell me what kind of decision you make, because I think you have to make a decision by May 1, and we're almost there. So I think I think it's that time when you have to do that. So just at the end of your essay, let me know where you think you're going to go to school. Okay? So you know where to get me if you have questions. Have a good week. Talk to you soon.